why God had to come and become man for us. Many people can't even get past that first thing. How could the omnipotent, the almighty God become man? Some people think this is a crazy thing. You can't even say that. How can you fathom saying the creator of the universe became man? How do we get past that hurdle?
There's absolutely no doubt that the incarnation is scandalous. People look at what it is that Christianity teaches and they think to themselves, you must be out of your mind. Because exactly like you said, what does it even mean for you to believe in the almighty God, who then takes on the form of a human being, apparently lives out every human experience, even becoming a child, depending on his mother to nurse him, to feed him, to allow him to grow, only then to grow up and be a man who is betrayed by his loved ones, who is betrayed, crucified, dies, is buried, and rises from the dead. The reason why this is so scandalous is because they think it is humiliating to suggest that God is capable of this. And yet that's precisely what the pride and joy of the Christian believer is. Mm-hmm. That to them, I believe in a God who, when I, as a human being, was incapable of restoring myself and going back up to him, he came down to me. This is precisely the mystery of the beauty behind the heart of the God that we believe in. There is no other deity in any form of religion out there who is capable of expressing this loving sacrifice except in the person of Christ. You only find this in the Christian religion. You see, to us, it's very simple. When humanity fell away and humanity was no longer capable of restoring themselves back into the presence of God, then God had no other option but to look at the situation and say, what else is there to do than to restore them back to their first estate, to remind them of the love that I have for them, and to bring them back into the knowledge of God. So how else can this be done other than through the person who, in the Holy Trinity, is the very image of God the Father? How can he not be the person who restores our image? How can he not be the very person by which we bear the image of God? Well, we bear it only because he is the express image, according to St. Paul in the book of Colossians. It makes perfect sense to the Christian. But to the person who is not Christ-minded, of course, we understand it's scandalous. But when you investigate the expression of love that is found in the incarnation, it will completely overtake a person's heart. Mm-hmm. It is precisely what will make anybody melt away at the sight of how it is that this is so beautiful to see.
It's almost like that hurdle becomes our chief foundation.
Absolutely.
It's the thing that makes the least sense actually becomes the thing that endears you the most to God. Yeah. So tell me something. Quick question for those of us who don't understand the why. Why couldn't God just save us as God? Why did he have to become man? Why does he have to follow some sort of rule of justice?
The issue here is actually not about justice. Okay, it's about a metaphysical reality. It's something very much ontological. And it starts with the true notion that God is the source of life, the being that creates and puts his spirit in us, creates the entire world, the entire cosmos, including humanity, animals, and whatnot. And he puts life in us, right? So when we fall away from that source of life, what happens to a human being? He dies. So to Father Anthony's point, can a dead person raise himself? No. So why does God have to intervene? Because humanity here is dead. When we say dead, we speak about, death as a whole, which includes spiritual death, physical death, and a bunch of other things. But the main aspect is that idea of spiritual death. So the forgiveness of sins, it is a facet of our salvation, but I would argue it's not even the most important one. The most important one is that Christians or humans are dead and they're corrupt. So why does God become man? Because God, he has to infuse life into the entirety of the human nature once again. So let me give you an easy example. So imagine a father tells his son, this is a flask of poison. Don't drink from it. And he puts it on top of the fridge for whatever reason. The father leaves. The son says, you know what? My father is lying to me. This is grape juice and I'm thirsty. So he grabs the ladder. He goes, grabs the flasks and drinks the flask and drinks the poison. Now he's in the middle of the kitchen, like on the ground. He's poisoned. He's hurt. The father runs back And then the son tells his father, I'm sorry, forgive me. The father responds, you're forgiven. Will the child still die? He will. Unless if he takes the antidote. And what's the antidote of death when humanity leaves the source of life? The only antidote for death is life himself. So when he comes on earth, God, and takes on that human nature, now he's saving all of humanity, right? So that human nature has access to that life again. And that's why throughout his life, he gets baptized, and a bunch of other details that we can speak of later on if we need to. But it's about, Christianity is fundamentally about giving back life to humanity and removing that corruption from us. If we use science for a second, not speaking about humans, for example, if you speak about the Big Bang Theory, right? And all this energy that comes out, right? In that theory. So who creates that? Like scientifically speaking, it makes no sense.
Where does it come from?
Exactly,
energy?
right?
Yeah.
So the energy has to come from somewhere. Scientifically, it makes no sense that if it doesn't, right? So who is the creator of that energy, right? And if you look at, so the Big Bang is the space-time continuum, right? Space-time, energy, and missing one, matter, right? Which is huge.
Which is the first problem is, where did the matter come from in the first place?
Exactly, right? Yeah. So again, maybe I'm a bit off topic now, but let's say as a human being, I create a table. Okay, this is, I'm using very simplistic terms here. Okay, I create a table. Am I in the table or outside the table? I'm outside it, right? Okay, and this is very simplistic. It's not actually how it is, but okay, just for the sake of keeping it simple. So when God creates the world through the Big Bang, whatever it ends up being, although the Big Bang has a lot of evidence for it, obviously. So using that simplistic idea, God is outside the Big Bang. So what do we notice at the beginning of the Big Bang? We notice matter. So God is above that matter. It's a spiritual being who creates the material world. He's above space and time because he creates space and time in the Big Bang. And he is the owner of that energy. Again, maybe it gives a better idea of what I mean by a metaphysical reality of that being who is truly the source of life. And I think the reason why we cannot bring ourselves to understand the incarnation is because God's love is truly, truly beyond our comprehension. It's impossible to understand how much this God truly loves us. And funny enough, when we look at the near-death experiences of people that actually experience those, and we know that they experienced or those near-death experiences that died and came back to life, and those that were plugged to machines and whatnot, and there was no brain activity and all of these things, when some of them meet that being, it's so funny how they use words that are liturgical. They meet that being, they say, and the amount of love that comes out of him, they say, is incredible. They can't describe it, and they don't want to leave him, and they say he's a personal being, right? And there's like essentially a science going on trying to understand all of these near-death experiences, but this is the being who has created us, and therefore he needs to infuse that life within us again. Because a dead man cannot raise himself.